What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the PVP Podcast. As usual, I'm still your host, Giancarlo Carangelo, with my partner, Anthony Lodja. Say hi to people, Anthony.
Hey guys, and make sure you turn on the video because we got the best dressed guest ever on this show.
Yeah, definitely. We have Steven here from IGIA. Sorry, Steven. IG, I was thinking about Instagram, who is a financial security advisor. And despite never having watched an episode of Peaky Blinders, his outfit is fully inspired from Peaky Blinders.
On point.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone had to do it before it was cool.
There you go.
I mean, I've been dressing like that for 18 years.
There you go.
18 years. How did that start?
I used to sell clothes, and that's actually where I got the passion for sales. And I had to look the part, and it helped me sell what I was wearing. So
you're telling me you always wear the three-piece?
always no, but more often than not, I will have at least the two centerpieces, like the pants and the vest. Sometimes if it's hot, I'll skip the jacket.
Well, I mean, you did a fantastic job making us feel underdressed tonight. So thanks for stealing the show.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So, I mean, let's dive into it. Tell the people who you are, how you got to where you are today.
Well, like you said, my name is Steven Marino. I'm a financial security advisor with Industrial Alliance and Not Investors Group.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad company. Honestly, it's just different people, same job. But when it comes down to it, almost 16 years ago, I was offered a position as a financial security advisor. I was finishing university, so I did my courses to get my permit and started working a week after graduating from Concordia. And technically the rest is history. It's been the same job with different clients for almost 16 years.
Wow.
And in 2017, I had the opportunity to manage a team.
Okay.
Which went from 6 to now 13, almost 14 in a couple of weeks. The 14th person should be joining us. And I've gone from coaching clients to coaching reps to do the same thing.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely so like, how do you, like, let me just ask you this, because I'm a property manager. I manage properties and I manage tenants. And leading a team is a lot like managing tenants. You're managing people, right? So how do you find, tell us about the intricacies of managing the team of almost 14 people.
Well, that was one of the things that made me make the switch. Because in all honesty, it's not a promotion per se. I mean, I've got guys on my team making more than me. I've got guys on my team making less than me. As an advisor, you have more freedom. You're self-employed. You get to work the hours you want to work, meet the clients you want to meet, and avoid the ones you don't. When we decide to recruit someone, then it becomes almost personal where we want them to succeed. And sometimes we hang on maybe longer than they do. And it's a whole different ballgame where managing clients is simple. You see them once a year, you speak to them 2-3 times a year, depending on the client, depending on their needs. And it's very short bursts. So it's a different vibe when you're going every day with the same people beside you.
Yeah.
And you have to contend with different personalities for long periods of time. Then you got to give one guy a message. You got to give the other guy a message. It's the same message, but you can't pass it the same way. That's the difficulty of it, which is also what keeps it interesting. I think if it was always mundane, the same thing, the same way, I'd go back to managing clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now tell me something, because you start off as an advisor, obviously, and now the people under you, really the people you manage, are advisors. Now, maybe if you could just break it down for us, what does an advisor do? What's their day-to-day look like?
Day-to-day, it literally comes down to key factors. When you do them, how you do them is completely up to you. But you need to find clients, whether it be cold calling, which really sucks, or word of mouth, or Instagram, anything that'll lead people to you or you to people, and you have a conversation. Then it's getting to know them. So everyone will have different objectives, different levels of objective. Some people want to be millionaires. Other people want a simple life. So you've got to adapt to each one. Then some of them already have things in place. Others don't. Some of the things that are in place are great. Others aren't. So it's a job of analysis.
Okay.
And then explanation, education. There's a lot of education, getting people to understand what the products are, what they're for, what the advantages are, what the inconveniences are, what their options are. And then it's essentially getting them to act in their best interest by giving you money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that I've always liked about my job is that if it's good for the client, it's good for the rep.
Right.
If the client is making money, the rep is making money. I mean, we get paid on transactions and we get recurring fees every year, but our recurring is based on the amount of assets we were managing. So the more assets we manage, the more we get paid.
The better it is. Yeah.
But if the client is making money, then we automatically have more assets.
I love it. The better job you do, the more you get paid.
The better job you do, the more you get. And the fun part is that even the fund managers who are managing the client's money, half their pay or almost are bonuses based on how well they outperform their competition.
Oh.
So everyone's interests are aligned, which makes it a win-win-win.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's interesting because, like, for me, you're saying all these advisors, in a sense, they have their own business, right? Because their earnings potential are unlimited,
Absolutely.
right? So you're, in a sense, like managing 13, 14 different businesses.
Yes.
And how they will.
Rolled into one, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the job description is the same, but they each get their clients differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They each have different tendencies when selling products or different ideas on what a better solution is. And the reality is they're all right.
Yeah.
Because I'll always say, in terms of insurance, the best insurance is the one that's in place.
Yeah.
If you're overpaying for something and you stop paying for it, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to get something because, it's not the product that I heard of, then you're still not acting.
Yeah.
If something happens, you're in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So whatever works for the client,
Yeah,
is the best product. And usually what the rep is most confident about and which product he prefers is the one that the client will end up getting.
Absolutely.
Because if you're confident in what you're proposing, then the
Yes.
client will act.
and there's like so much for me to unpack here, but like one of the things that really stuck with me is we talked about like your team getting clients different ways, right? Everyone has their own style. And like for us, when we started off as real estate brokers, one thing that the training never really taught us is how to get clients. And that's essentially 90% of the job as a real estate broker, as a property manager, as a real estate coach. We need to get clients.
Getting clients, even knowing how to speak to clients.
Yes.
Yep.
Which, so like, let me ask you something. On your team,
Yeah.
does a team member have difficulty with this part of the job?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's like real estate agents, like anyone who needs to find clients and build any business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The number one difficulty is getting clients to you
And keeping
and keeping them.
Getting-
Well,
keep
to be
getting
very honest, in my field, in finance, people don't necessarily like going through the process.
Mhm.
So once they're in, you've got to do a pretty terrible job to lose them. Because, like, you have to understand, for me to get to know you, I've got to ask you everything.
Yeah.
I'm essentially giving you a full medical of your finances.
Yes. The client's getting undressed in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Not
uncomfortable
always
for them, and it's not always pretty. Some people some young people have more debt than you could imagine.
Well, this must be a thing right now in like the last 5 years. The debt has been rising, I would imagine. And like,
You get some of everything. But yes, I mean, I still have, sometimes I see 23, 24-year-old clients with $40,000 of credit card debt. And they're telling me their main objective is to buy a house in 2 years. And I'm sitting there like, okay, let's start with the reality check, which is unfortunate. Let's build up your credit. Let's put strategies in place to reimburse your debts.
Mhm.
And then we'll talk about, moving forward. But
so it's like managing their expectations, in other words. Because I mean, 90% of Canadians have a dream of buying a home, right? Or
I'm not sure about the stats.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure, fine. But like X amount of people have a dream about buying a home, buying property, right? But they ignore that debt that they have, which is unfortunately a sad reality. because everybody has debt. It's just a matter of what kind and how much.
Well, I always say there's a difference between good debt and bad debt.
Right.
Yes, but any debt will stop you from buying a house, whether it's good or bad. If your cash flow isn't there, no one's going to lend you the money.
Even if you have a portfolio of properties under your name, the bank eventually will cut you off because you have too many properties under your name, under your personal name or whatever. So
Oh, really?
yeah. Oh, the bank. Yeah. We've seen that happen to a couple clients where the banks wouldn't finance them because there was too many doors owned under the client's personal name. So,
Okay.
so they had to find alternatives, holding companies and everything. So they take that into consideration. But going back to like managing someone's expectations, you get a 24-year-old person who wants to buy a house with $40,000-$50,000 of debt. And before you had talked about communicating a message, how do you communicate the message without making them feel less than, or like their goal is unattainable?
Well, I think in any sales job, the
Yeah.
trick is not to tell them, but have them tell you.
Right.
So if I could ask them enough questions for them to realize on their own that no one's going to lend me money at this point,
Yeah.
then usually they'll be the ones to bring up, okay, well, what can I do to get there?
Yeah.
And then the sale is made
Yes.
because they know they have a problem and they're willing to fix it.
Yeah.
So that's the game, right?
Right. Right. So like, let me ask you about the economy. How does it affect your business in particular? Because that's a loaded question.
It's a very loaded question, and the best part is it'll depend on the client.
Right.
If you have clients who've got more, let's call it knowledge and habit, they're probably willing to invest.
Okay.
It's market dropped, everything's at a discount. It's time to jump in.
Mhm.
The market is unstable. Perfect. We'll come in periodically every couple of days, every couple of weeks, and we'll take advantage of the dips.
Yeah.
But I still have problems with people who try to time the market, which is improbable to get right.
Yeah. And I think we're all like at fault to trying to do it. But the best thing is just buy periodically, like you're saying.
Well, actually, the number one best solution is if you have money, dump it in and then wait.
Yeah.
Then if you don't, and you've got, periodic sums, then the second you have them, invest them.
That's it.
Now, once again, this holds true if you have a long investment horizon.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're looking to take out your money to buy a property in 3-4 years, I'm not comfortable taking that risk.
Yeah.
I'd rather put it in a high interest savings account and save, make sure that I don't lose. Because even if the market does well up until the year that I want to buy and crashes right before, I'm not at fault for that.
Right.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And my client will have the knowledge that it is possible and will have the recommendation not to take that risk.
I love it. Yeah.
And then if they decide to,
That's on them.
then that's on them.
Yeah.
And, there will definitely be notes and files backing up that they're doing something that I would not recommend. And then if they win, good for them. I'm happy for them. I really, really am. But if on the off chance that it's that year that I'm right,
Yeah.
I don't want to take that blame. And regardless of what was said and what was written down and what was done,
Right.
it's always my fault anyway.
Always.
Oh,
And you've been around long enough to know that,
And I've been around long enough to know that.
right?
100%.
And now it's just teaching that to your advisors to say, hey guys, be cautious. Always be cautious. Write down those notes,
Because we have that problem where we're living in a society today where the magic solution, the easy money, the easy answer is what everyone's looking for. I mean, I saw recently on Instagram, it was a picture where you have 2 lines, 2 doors. Over the doors, it's on one side, it's written healthy living and healthy eating.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's lose weight with 1 pill.
Yeah.
And the line going into that door
It was
has no end. And there's like one person in front of the door that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, it says a lot about society
Yes.
and it says a lot about people.
Yeah.
We all wish we could get the easy solution.
For sure.
Mhm.
But I think whether it's nutrition, working out, finance, real estate, the only thing that will always work is discipline.
And discipline and consistency, right? Like, I mean, if you're trying to lose weight, right? Which I know because we train together at the gym. One of my jujitsu buddies here, and yes, the rumors are true. I do have friends other than Anthony. So, I'm sure we spoke a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about your weight loss journey and everything, and it's like, and I lost weight too, and it's like we want the results now. We don't necessarily see them now, but like for me, I saw it in a year, right after a year of training, and like I think people have that they want it now. Even like when they buy real estate, they think if I buy a property now, I'm going to make money now. And it's like we were talking before the show and you said, when I buy a property, I'm not thinking about now.
As long as I break even,
As long as I break
your retirement plan.
but I'm thinking about 20 years from now. And, it reminds me of a saying I heard that, timing the market means nothing. Time in the market means everything.
Absolutely.
Well, how many times we get asked the question, is now a good time to buy?
Yes.
Exactly.
The only time better than now is yesterday.
Yeah.
That's it. They always tell me, but when was the best time? 5 years ago.
It wasn't 40 years ago.
5 years before that.
Second
5 years before that. 5 years.
Yeah.
Now is always the best.
Well, we were having a bite before, and I was telling you how, like, being in the real estate for the last 10 years, I've seen the way prices have went up, and what was 10 years ago, 300,000 is now 700,000, right? And that's an example of time in the market. Someone who bought a property 10 years ago, right, is seeing that benefit now, 10 years later, right? Whereas maybe the younger generation wants the instant results, instant gratification, and that partly blames social media for that because, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. If I put a post and I get like, I'm expecting 20 likes, I get 10 likes, I'm like, what the hell? But, like someone posted on Instagram the other day, like social media made us believe that 20 likes wasn't enough. Imagine getting 20 compliments in real life. That would make your day.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, so cool. I mean, well, back to business. I mean, enough social media banter from me, but, so like right now when you're working with a client, well, you're managing a team.
Yeah.
You're coaching them to onboard clients and everything.
Yeah.
Do you do any sort of like regular trainings with the team? Like, I know you do team developments. I've seen you do some stuff, at the gym or whatever, but any like business trainings with them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I split my team into two groups.
Okay.
Those with less than 2 years of experience and those with more. And I even kind of tell the people up until 5, if you guys want to join in, sometimes the refresher is good.
Mhm.
But every Monday after lunch, I sit down for at least an hour with everyone that's got less than 2 years experience. And once a month with the entire team, just to go over concepts, ideas, ways of prospecting, things to how to talk to clients, the difference between an analytical client and a friendly client and one who's business driven and results driven. You can approach them different ways, and you have to try to figure out quickly which one you have in front of you. Because if you start going through a business guy, all the details in minute, point by point, you lost them within 2 minutes. It's finished. You're never going to close them. And because those types of people usually run businesses, have higher net worths or whatever, then you're chasing them because the potential is huge. But then you're thinking of yourself. And 9 out of 10 times, if you're thinking of yourself, it's not going to work anyway.
Right. I mean, you got to think of the client's needs.
Always.
Right. You got to think of their best interests and everything. And you said it before, if your client's making money or if your client's happy, that's testament to your service and that keeps the client loyal and everything. So it's like us too, when we work, with investors and everything, when they make money and see the results,
That's feeling.
They come back.
they come back and they keep coming back,
And I mean, and that resolves part of the problem of finding new clients.
Right.
Because a satisfied client
Recommends everyone.
will give you other clients that will be satisfied. An unsatisfied client, I believe the statistic, or at least back in my marketing classes, is a happy client will talk to about 3 people on average that they had a good experience. An unhappy one will have, if I'm not mistaken,
Double that.
7.
Yeah.
Which is crazy
And
when you think about it.
it's like, you know, we were thinking about this and client retention and everything. And it makes me think of something I read in a book called The Coach Builder. It's more expensive to find a new client than it is to keep an existing one happy.
Absolutely. I mean, and look at Bell and Videotron.
Oh,
You're a new client. Here's a discount.
It's true. Yeah.
How many ads do you see?
Yeah.
How many ads are there now on Amazon and on, TV and whatever to find new clients?
Yeah.
That costs money.
Absolutely.
100%.
Keeping the one that's there costs nothing.
Costs
Right.
nothing. And you don't have advantage to them. You jack up their prices every year, pretend like they don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So now I know you were talking about, right, with your team, the trainings you do. What are some of the exercises you do to keep the team together, to have that type of environment where, I don't know, there's a friendly competition, there's that sense of, camaraderie also, they could help each other out or whatnot.
So the whole helping each other out, thankfully, everyone is usually willing to. I actually see more people hesitate to ask than people hesitate to give. So for that, I mean, they have to feel comfortable. I try to get them to do activities together. So I try to do at least one thing per quarter.
Like what?
Well, let's see. In January, I had the entire team at our gym
Oh, wow.
where we did an hour workout. Then we did half an hour of stretching, and then I had our coach, Eric, give an hour conference on nutrition and sleep
Wow.
and the impact on your energy throughout the day and the impact that could have on business.
Shout out Coach Eric, by the way.
And then, before that, I rented out a chalet and I made a 4-course meal for everyone.
Incredible.
I just want to say for the camera, I've eaten dinner at Steven's house, and he's a great host and a phenomenal chef. That was the first time I've ever had lamb in my life.
That was that time.
That was that time. That was that night. The first time I smoked an entire leg of lamb.
Yeah. He calls me, I think on the way home. It's like,
Dude, I just had lamb.
it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I never eaten lamb in my life, and I was like, oh my god, it tasted so good and everything. So he's a phenomenal chef, guys. So and a host. But okay, so
So you do a lot of these team building
I
activities.
I try to do 4 a year.
That's awesome.
one quarter.
One every quarter. I mean, last quarter I challenged my my young reps to do something, and I said, "Listen, if I'll do something even better. I'll compete against you guys, and it's something that I won't do regularly because I don't meet that many new clients myself.
Yeah.
But and whoever does better, one of you individually or myself, then either you guys pay for my supper or I'll take you all out for supper."
Wow.
And I worked it out. Not that I worked it out because I just didn't put that much effort on my end, but they did well. They did well enough that even had I not let them win, they probably still would have won.
Okay.
And I bolstered my own results just to motivate them a little bit more.
Yes.
And then I took them all out for supper, and we had a good time and just simple, fun activities. I have an espresso machine in my office.
Yeah.
So I get people just to come sit down and talk and have a coffee.
Yeah.
Every Thursday I have anyone who wants to come from my team over at my house.
Okay.
So less formal setting, allows for discussion that's more open, less business. And if someone has a problem, that's usually where it'll come out.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking to me and I'm dressed like this,
Yeah.
it might be more intimidating when there's a problem. But
you
when
were always dressed like this?
no, not at home. I could be wearing jeans or jogging.
I thought you slept with dressed like.
No, I'm not borrowing Stinson. Yeah, Brian. But
So you actually have a sort of open door policy on Thursdays, you're saying?
absolutely, yeah. From 9 to 12, anyone could just pop into my house and talk business, work on files, ask for help.
That's
Or if they're having a hard time at home, they could talk about stuff that's not business related. And if that helps them, then it helps all around. So, people first, right?
Yeah.
If you help them, then everything else kind of follows.
Interesting. So let me ask you about, for example, some of your clients that own real estate.
Yep.
What type of products, services, or financial advice do you offer a client with a specific real estate goal? That's it. Whether it's to buy a house or to buy a small portfolio of rental properties, whatever the real estate goal is.
I mean, it becomes a question of time.
Okay.
So when do they want to get it done?
Mm-hmm.
How much money they have available to set aside for that specific goal. And then if they've already started, it's also taking into consideration the fiscal implications of capital gains tax, whether they want to keep them for retirement, whether they're going to sell them beforehand, whether they're going to give them to their kids when they pass away. And if there's a way to minimize the tax implication, or at least find a solution that's cheaper than paying the taxes themselves, then we could put that in place and make their lives easier. But I mean, there's no secret to it. You want to build real estate, you need money.
Yes.
So it's, like I said, a question of how much time they've got and how much money they're willing to put aside. And then once they've got the money, then, I'll refer them to a mortgage broker.
Okay.
Who will help them on that specific area. If they need a real estate agent, I've worked with a couple in the past who I'll refer them as well. I mean, it doesn't stop at me. The way we tend to see it is we're like the general practitioner.
Yeah.
And if you have a specific goal, we'll refer you to the specialist.
Yeah.
Well, I don't do mortgages.
Right. So you have someone in your database that does. Yeah.
One of the things I talk about the most is wills. The amount of people who don't have a will and that are blissfully unaware of the consequences of dying in Quebec without one. And
Long, tedious process when I unfortunately know someone who had a relative who deceased without a will, and it was a long,
Can you break it down?
tedious process.
I mean, it depends on the situation. If you're married, if you're not married, if you got kids, if you got no kids, if it's just your parents, if you've got siblings, it gets to be a problem. And what happens in Quebec these days? What are divorce rates? What are reconstructed families where you've got one parent with two kids, one parent with one kid, and then they've got one together. And you're sitting there, okay, we don't have a will. Are you married? No. So who's the owner of the house?
Wow.
Well, 50-50. What happens if you die? Well, she gets it. Nope.
Goes to a kid or something.
Goes to the three of your kids. But not only the house,
Everything.
the mortgage.
Yeah.
Wow.
The debt too, I
Well, yeah,
imagine.
the mortgage,
Yeah.
the mortgage and the value of the house go to the kids. Now, are they adults or are they minors?
Oh my.
You try selling a house when you got three minors who own 50% of it.
Yeah.
How are the minors going to reimburse the mortgage? It's a problem. Not to say anything else. It's a problem.
Is that one of like the top questions you ask them? Do you have a will?
It's systematic. Systematic. Now, if they're young, still living with their parents, it's usually not the end of the world. But even that, let's say they own a car. Okay, now you've got two parents, owner of one car. Okay, the parents are still together. Not that complicated. They'll agree and they'll sell it.
Yeah.
Parents are separated. One wants it, the other one wants it. Then what happens?
Yeah. Becomes complicated.
And I mean, the best wills are notarized.
Right, of course.
But you could also look up the proper format and write out a holographic will.
Yes.
Where if it's done properly, when you die, you've got to bring it in front of a judge, get it approved. Once it's approved, it's valid.
Has to be stamped by the judge.
Yes, it costs a fortune to do.
Yeah.
But it's still a solution. You get what you want at the end.
Yeah.
Without that, then it's the civil code that tells you what's happening.
Yeah, no.
And you've got no choice.
No choice.
All you can do is refuse a succession.
Right.
If you've got more debt than assets, you could refuse the succession.
Wow.
And then it just goes to the next person down the line.
That's something to think about. Really, seriously. Something to seriously think about.
So very important information, guys. I hope everyone here took note on that. Whatever age you are and how many assets you own, having a will is very important to avoid complications.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't put your kids in a tough spot, right?
Right. Exactly. Amazing. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about, let's mix it up here. You mentioned that we're jiu-jitsu together and everything. So tell me, first of all, how your training regimen relates to business. Does it, in terms of discipline and consistency?
A typical morning.
Well, I know I touched I touched on this. I touched on this a little bit earlier, and once again, the secret is just discipline.
Yeah.
Because throughout my life, I've gone to the gym on and off, and once upon a time, it was, I went to the gym, so now I could eat this.
Yeah.
Today, it's not the same, and that's why there are results. I mean, by the end of COVID, I was 38 pounds heavier.
Okay.
And out of the blue, I decided, okay, it's time. Out of the blue, I actually looked at myself in the mirror coming out of the shower one day and said, this isn't going to do.
Yeah.
And luckily, I touched base with Andrew. Shout out to Andrew, I guess. But we ended up going out for supper one night, and he said, you've done this before. You've done martial arts before. You've tried jujitsu before. You enjoy it. I give classes. Why don't you come? I said, why not? I love it. Let's go. So I did. And I started doing that a couple of times a week. And then, results were coming, but they were slow.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, well, talk to Eric. So Eric being the coach at the gym. So I sat down, talked to Eric. So before I said discipline is one of the keys, the second one is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to ask for help.
Right.
I mean, we each are good at certain things. Other people do other things better.
Right.
Might as well get the information from someone who's got the experience, the knowledge.
And who's doing it full time as well, right?
Sorry?
And who's doing it full time as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I know more than him, I'm in the wrong place.
That's it.
The knowledge is nowhere near close in this field. I mean, Eric is just the master of getting people to suffer through the gym and enjoy it.
But he enjoys watching the people suffer too.
Yes.
He enjoys that too.
Yes. But then the results are there, so no one complains.
No.
It's
So 5 years ago, you took this plunge to do this.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he trains, like sometimes I walk into the 7 a.m. class.
And I'm finishing my work.
He's finishing a workout, but then he'll come to the 7 a.m. class too. Be like, you know what? I'll jump in, and he's been there since 5:45, training till 7, and then do the 7 a.m.
Well, like this morning I had appointments. I had a bunch of things to do, and I needed time for my third workout of the week. So I set my alarm for 5. At 5:15, I was in the car. At 5:45, I was at the gym. At 6:45, I finished my workout.
Yeah.
7:30, I was at my chiros. At 9 o'clock, I was with clients. At 9:45, I had my reps over at the house because it's Thursday morning. And, and then my day just went on from there. But that's the way it works. If I have a gap in my day and I could hit the 11 o'clock class, I'm going to go to the 11 o'clock class. If I finish early one night, I'll go to the 6 o'clock class. But, on my program this month, I've got 3 workouts a week. So there is no way I don't hit my 3 workouts a week. And the fun part about this gym is that when you go long enough and, you have the trust there, you also have access to the key and you can go in whenever you want. So if I wasn't going to be there at 7 o'clock this morning, I'd be there after this at, 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be an issue. It just has to get done. Whether I feel like it or not, it has to get done.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest too, being in business, I love working out in the morning because my phone is quiet. My emails no one's hounding me. Like if I go to a 5 p.m. class, 6 p.m. class, I'm constantly in between the rounds or in between the drills, checking the phone to see if there's any fires, any emergencies. Between 5 and 7 is really where you get that workout in, and you only think about, I see you smirking there.
I'm going to put you on the spot a second.
Tell me something.
You don't mind?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have a camera.
Okay. So how many times has an hour and a half been a life and death situation for any one of your clients where had you not answered then, they would have missed out on the deal of their lives?
None.
Yeah. It's never happened.
Never. I mean, and no disrespect to any client out there watching or whatever, but sometimes what clients think is an emergency is not a real emergency, and so you're absolutely right.
So when I'm at the gym, don't get me wrong, my phone is there. I'll look at messages between sets or between rolls. I'll take a look, but everything, and I mean everything, could wait until I'm done.
Yeah.
And I don't think any client anywhere It's going to say, it took him an hour and 22 minutes to call me back. I can't believe he made me wait so long.
Yeah. But it also comes down to, if you're too accessible, people see that and they feed off that. And there's a bit of like time wasted that comes from being too accessible.
It's setting the expectations as well.
And a professional boundary. Yeah, and a professional boundary, Obviously, depending on the type of bit, like I'm in property management. So like, if a phone call comes in at 9:00 at night, there might be a building on fire. But it might also come in for a dead squirrel on the balcony, which it happened to me already. 9:30 Sunday night, got a call because there's a dead squirrel on the balcony, and it's like,
so the dead squirrel is obviously not an emergency.
No,
The building's on fire. Are you going to put it out?
I'm not going to put it out. No, exactly.
Call the fire department.
Yeah,
I'll call you back in an hour.
yeah. And no, and this goes back to like managing people. We spoke about it at the beginning of the episode, right? Managing people. So whether you're managing, like in my case, managing people's all my portfolio of tenants that I manage. In your case, it's a team, but it's about managing people and managing their expectations, managing their needs too. And like I've made it very clear to my clients, hey, listen, these are the business hours of operation. Email me for anything that's not an emergency. I only want you to call my phone for emergencies, my management clients, right? And they'll call me and say like, oh, it's an emergency. The light in the kitchen's off. And I have to like reiterate, no, for me in my business, an emergency is fire, flood, or murder. Outside of this, don't call it for an emergency. Send the email. And they don't necessarily understand, right?
But
They don't.
it's your living conditions, and I
Right.
can understand. I can understand. It's just like I tell my reps, call me whenever you need something. And sometimes they're in front of the client and they want the answer right away.
Yeah. And
But I've also told them, if you can't get the answer right away, you're not you're not ChatGPT. You don't have all the information. Even I sometimes don't have all the information. I mean,
It doesn't make you incompetent.
exactly.
It's okay to say, I'm going to get back to you. Now,
It's a very good question. It's not something that's asked to me very often.
Yeah.
Let me just check to make sure that what I tell you is right.
I
Because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing now
Exactly.
and then have to call you back and say, hey, I was wrong.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And exactly that, because even us, when we're asked a question about, from a client about real estate, about an investment, about a mortgage, about whatever, if I don't know the answer, I will say something like that. That's a great question. Let me get informed and I will call you back with the answer, because I'd rather inform you 100%, accurate
Yeah.
than say something that I'm not entirely sure of.
The most important part of all this is you actually get back to the client.
Absolutely. And
You say
then
what
it
you-
comes to managing expectations.
Yes.
If we're Thursday, I'm not going to say I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll say I'll get back to you early next week.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Right.
So, it's one of those things where if your expectations are here and you get met here,
Yeah.
then you're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
It's like I say, under promise, over deliver,
Yeah.
instead of over promise, under
And
deliver.
it's a rookie mistake, but a lot of rookies overpromise and then can't
course.
keep up.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, because you've been a rookie in business before,
And I've made mistakes.
100%. But how much of that, over promising is anxiousness, wanting to get the client, wanting to, sell, wanting to, just, especially in the first 2 years of your career, let's say, I used to do it in the first year of my career all the time.
Absolutely.
Now,
Fake it till you make it.
10 years later, I'm looking back, like I would never do that. But in the first year, I was anxious.
Yeah.
I wanted to make the business. I wanted to make the sale. I wanted to get that client.
But it's not only, wanting to make the sale, it's I'm speaking for myself. I actually, when I said, I'll call you back within 3 hours, my goal was to get it done.
Yeah.
It's just that, unfortunately, we all know
Yeah.
Things
unforeseen things happen.
Yes.
Another call that's actually an emergency because someone died and the person's panicking, and how do I fill out this claims form? And I need the money because I have to clear my mortgage because I can't make the payments by so all of a sudden it's on a back burner. Now, before COVID, we didn't even have sophisticated enough tools to put in hey, remind me to do this. It was written in a paper agenda or in the back of a file.
Yeah.
And then it's like you put that aside and you're attacking something else. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm forgetting something.
Yeah. And you're eating and you're like, that's what it is. I have to get back to Claire.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
or you know what? My favorite is, it's happened to me a few times, lying in bed at night,
Oh, man.
battering my head.
Yeah.
I forgot to get back to this person.
Yeah.
I forgot to write this down. I forgot to call them. I forgot to do this. Get out of bed.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Even, like scheduling an email to go out the next morning, which I love, by the way, makes my life, it's convenient.
Yeah.
Oh, I could write all my emails at night and then schedule to go out the next morning. But sometimes I lie in bed and it's just like, I forgot to this, I forgot to that. And it's like, now, yes, AI will help that. The organization,
I
part of
used to go to bed with a notepad beside my bed
Oh, yeah.
so that if I get random thoughts in the middle of the night that wake me up and stress me out, writing them down allows me to get back to sleep.
I saw that in an episode of Mad Men. You watch Mad Men?
Nope.
Oh, wow, you didn't watch Mad Men? Nope. Okay, so you got to watch Peaky Blinders and Mad Men.
It's not time for this. Look at it.
I know, but in Mad Men, it's about, marketing, advertising agencies, and he literally, and it was based in the 60s. So there's low tech.
Scotch in the drawer.
They had scotch in the drawer. Yeah.
Drawer right around desk.
But they, there's no technology in the show whatsoever. So it showed you how like humans had to be creative without tools that we have today, right? And it was literally an episode in the middle of the night. He woke up at 3 a.m. with he had a dream, woke up with the idea, fresh in his head, had to find a pen and a paper, which was in the nightstand, and wrote it down so he could remember it. And for anyone who hasn't watched Mad Men, watch Mad Men. Awesome show. Anthony, I think, recently got into it too, after years of trying to convince him. But it reminds me of that, which is necessary.
Anything that gets it out of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously the next morning you pick it up and run with it.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you something. We lived through, I know we're still talking about this, but we lived through the COVID era. And that's affected people's business, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in, the restaurant business, whatever it is. Did you see not only a negative, but did you see any positive or negatives happen to your clients from the COVID era? Or anything like, for example, anything?
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, the market at that point
Up, down,
dropped before shooting back up phenomenally.
Oh, yeah.
So it's managing people's panic.
Yeah.
Now, part of that management starts at the sale. So once you've got them to invest with you, it's understanding that the market is going to dip a couple of times a year. It is going to crash every cycle. It'll happen, and then it'll come back up. Always.
Yes.
I mean, technically can't say always. You don't know what the future holds.
Right.
Sure.
But it always has. Let's put it that way.
It depends the investment. Like, I'm skeptical with stocks. I'm more of a real estate guy because I could touch it.
But you need to diversify.
100%. 100%.
But now if you got one stock, it's like having a condo. You're renting out your condo, and all of a sudden your tenant leaves or dies or whatever.
You lost 100%.
You've lost 100% of the income from that property.
Yeah.
And then you may not be able to rent it again.
Mhm.
But if you've got 50 doors,
It's okay.
whenever I rent it, I'll rent it.
Yeah.
So if I'm buying one stock and I hit a home run, great.
And it crashes.
And it crashes,
Yeah.
well, I just lost everything, but it's my fault.
Yeah.
If on the other hand, I've diversified and I've got, a decent number, whatever that may be for each individual, if one goes down, the other one goes up, it balances out. And if one company closes, then you lose 100% of that stock.
Yeah. See, it's like, you were talking about stocks and everything, and it's like putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, for people who invest in stocks, buying one stock, or for people who, like, we've seen this in the real estate business, people who are so heavy on the Airbnb before Montreal introduced all this, regulations. For me, like, not diversifying whatever investment you're in is like going to the casino and putting it all on black.
Essentially. And to be fair, I don't sell stocks. I only sell funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So whether they're, guaranteed income or portfolios of stocks and other companies, which I don't pick, but fund managers do. That's what I work with. And either is good. They come with different risks.
Yeah.
They come with different benefits. They come with different capacities for gain. I mean, if you've got, like I said, if you've got one stock and it hits a home run,
Great.
then you hit a home run.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, look, I had a client managing a handful of his individual condos here, and he had bought them when Airbnb was taken off. And he had bought them to rent on Airbnb. You're renting on Airbnb, and it's like, okay, you're making $250 a night. Great. But then what happened was he was making, let's say, off one condo unit, $5,000 a month. And then what happened was Montreal started adding restrictions and this and permits. And it started off with permits, and then it went to zoning. And now the latest one is they're only allowing for a certain time of the year. All of a sudden, his investments didn't make sense no more, because he goes, hey, I have a condo. I have 3-4 condos that are making $4 or $5 grand a month on Airbnb. Now I can't do Airbnb anymore. And these condos are only making $1,200 a month. It was a huge hit for him. He's losing more than 50% of his income, so he unfortunately offloaded it because the investment didn't make sense.
I like that Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger strategy where you pick stocks, you pick companies by their brand recognition. Everyone knows Coca-Cola, everyone knows Apple, everyone knows Microsoft. Same way, like if you live in Montreal, everyone knows Le Plateau, everyone knows Mount Royal, everyone knows whatever it is, Rosemont. These are secure areas.
Yeah.
Where buy it, you rent it, you're always going to be good.
Yeah. But it's, like, for example, you mentioned Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And I read it in a book. Their branding, for example, is amazing. And like, they have a large market share, but like when people, people get Pepsi at a restaurant, they ask for a Coke. I'll take a Coke, please. And then the waiter say, we only have Pepsi. And yeah, that's fine. No problem. That's how strong, like, I just had to bring that up because it popped in my head. But that's how strong, like, their branding recognition is.
To be fair, I mean, they've managed to market the entire, world with those two. There's only Coke. I mean, what are you going to think of? RC Cola?
No.
Which is not even around anymore. I really think I haven't seen RC Cola in 10 years. Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, I mean, you've got Bell and Videotron.
Yeah.
When you've got two players, then they feed off each other. And, they don't call it a monopoly because there are two. But, it's very easy to take advantage of the market when that's the situation.
So tell me, Steven, like, what type of advice would you offer a young professional who's getting into your line of work, or even your younger self when you got into this business?
Oh God. Manage your own expectations.
Okay.
Anyone who's self-employed or starting a business will live through a gambit of emotions from here to here, and if you could manage them in the middle, because what I see the most, and has happened to me in the past, where you make a big sale and you've got a lot of money and all of a sudden you're comfortable,
You stop hustling.
then you slow down.
Yeah.
Or you're going through a rough patch and you're not slowing down, but you're not getting anywhere. And all of a sudden you freeze. You're in two extremes that cause you to stop working.
Right.
When you stop working, there's no way of getting back on track. Whereas if you manage your emotions in the middle, when you're high, you're like, okay, I'm going to feed off of this and keep going because you're not too high. And when you're low, you go, okay, I just got to hustle a little bit more and I'll be back on track, and you're not discouraged. So that's probably one of the things I would tell myself. And then it would be, whatever you do, do it more often and have fun while doing it. Make sure your clients are having fun while you do it.
And make an experience for them as well.
It's work, but it doesn't have to be unpleasant.
Yeah.
And, it allows, if you do your job properly, your clients have more money and allows them to live the life that they want.
Yeah.
If you do your job properly, you're making enough money that you could live the life that you want
Right.
to. So work to live, don't live to work, which is a problem I think older generations may have. Ours, not so much. Younger than us, even less.
Yeah.
Um, but not to go the complete opposite of that and say, well, my parents worked too hard. I want to take advantage of life, but I haven't earned it yet.
Yeah. Good.
So I think that's the key. And early in my career, I would say make sure you're better at following up with clients, and that if you're going to overpromise, you'd better deliver.
The following up with clients is so key. I feel like I made that mistake so many
I
times.
think we all have.
I think we all. And just one last question. To your younger self, is there any sort of financial instrument or insurance or something that you would have told them to buy?
You know, when it comes to insurance products, the younger you are, the cheaper they are. The more time they have to grow, gain value, depending on the product that it is. So you could get volume for cheaper, you could get better products for cheaper. So
Okay.
definitely get that started right away, which thankfully I did. And in terms of investments, then, it becomes put more aside. Because the more you put aside, the more you'll have and the more you'll be able to spend regardless.
Yeah.
But also, there's some money that you're just never going to touch until you retire.
Yeah.
But also don't overdo it because you want to live. You're not working to put money aside so that you could retire one day.
Yeah.
You're working so that you could live and then retire one day. So it's a combination of both.
Because I think young people don't think of these things.
No.
Because we're young, we're healthy, we're not thinking about the future and, insurance. Who needs life insurance? I'm 25 years old, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
given how much prices of permanent life insurance has gone up in the last 15 years, 16 years since I started,
Yeah.
having it early was definitely an investment.
Right. Right.
Because then when you grow up and you've got kids and you've got mortgages in it and you already have your insurance, you're going, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because the cost of dying is quite high.
Yeah, the cost of dying is quite high, and the void that you leave, it has an impact.
100%. So I know, your main role is recruiting and everything. So before we close off this episode, anyone who wants to get in touch with you to maybe, talk or potentially join your team or work with you, how could they get in touch with you?
The easiest way is my cell phone. 514-962-1540. Questions about finance, questions about a career, give me a shout. And it's definitely my pleasure to either meet with you myself or refer you to someone within my team who will definitely take care of you.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
so much,
It was
Steve.
great to have you. A very informative episode.
My pleasure.
And once again, everyone, Steven from IA, sir, and not IG.
Thank you so much.